allegedly, when he was a coach of the Cavaliers, gave out information regarding one LeBron James in terms of his minutes and availability for games. So, this is some of the ways in which sports gambling can be influenced, because if I am able to get wind of that, just like any stock tip or anything else, I'm able to make an educated wager on it. The problem with things like that is I don't know what might be the actual red flags when it comes to the actual amounts for stock investment, nor do I know what would trigger a red flag in the gambling world. But we do want to know what's the difference in the thresholds and how much investing do I have to do before you have any red flags about the monies that I put in. What if I let them matriculate in or what have you? So when you see people like it wouldn't indict LeBron at all to be the subject of this conversation, but it would indict his coach that would know his practice schedule, would have been talking to him to figure out how his body feels, if he's going to play in the game, so on and so forth, and that's going to allow me to make a better bet. So Damon is straddling crime on both sides. I would venture to say that his particular stops are going to render him more time than anybody else should time be doled out. Let's get back to it.
This contain only allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that.
You thought these cliches was funny?
I would like to talk about United States versus Ernest, the NBA basketball gambling case. The defendants in this case are Eric Ernest,
I don't know Eric Ernest,
Marvez Barley, Shane Hennon, De Niro Laster, Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach, and Terry Rozier, a current NBA player.
So I'm glad the other four
Other
are the actual
co-conspirators
bettors.
were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jontay Porter.
Jontay Porter was betting himself.
Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance. The bets were placed through online sports books and also in person at casinos.
I bet, yeah.
The defendants relied on a network of straw bettors to place the maximum amount of bets to increase their potential profits. Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars. The defendants then laundered their illegal winnings in various ways: peer-to-peer platforms, bank wires, and simple cash exchanges. The indictment details specific examples where the defendants profited from illegal gambling and illegal betting on various NBA games about the performance of players on, among other things, the Charlotte Hornets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Rangers. Each defendant in the NBA basketball gambling case has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus Aiello, the rigged poker game case. Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan.
They just mad. They
The
wouldn't get
scheme
no action
targeted
right here. Daddy
victims
Goodman pissed.
known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach.
Both was playing when they was
What the
doing this.
victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. The off-site operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from others to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims.
All right. So they're using elaborate dealing machines. They got people quarterbacking this. They got the goofballs that just want to spend all their money and say they played poker with Damon Jones and Chauncey Billups. Okay. So I fail to see the actual crime besides the illegal use of the, they had a table that you can read cards on. The chip counters could indicate things to help you read cards. They had an elaborate thing going on, so it is a bit nefarious to keep going. But I'm thinking the amount of time that it has been going on when they were still players, and so who else did they bring in? I.e., a Gilbert Arenas or anybody like that, a Paul, anybody that's retired? Did they pass it down since Chauncey was a coach now? Did he get away from that? Terry, did you stop or cease to do that once you left Charlotte and went to Miami and you was good, got new money, so you didn't have to have people get into the hustle anymore? Did y'all know that the mafia still existed in such a capacity? Like, kudos to them for staying under the radar and doing things that lend themselves to staying out the way. That's operating in silence. But I can't say that I already knew that they still existed. Also, you want to know what will be the penalty, because Damon already facing 2 conspiracy charges on that part. So now the extortion and sorts, will everybody who was involved, whether or not they actually did the extortion, will a person like Chauncey and a Damon or anybody else, will they actually be charged with extortion? Who knows? Is this directly tied to Arenas, as we already talked about, or he referred to Jonte Porter, a former basketball player now who was banned for this very activity. So he was coerced to give up information because he was in debt. So We know that he may have had some ties to the La Costa Nostra or what have you, just the same way. All of those are questions that we got to ask. But the question is, does it shake your faith in the integrity of the game? Like Divine Photos already said, things are rigged. I believe many more things are rigged, but to whose favor are they rigged in? And do we want things, if in fact they are rigged, to be rigged in our favor? We do await further details so that we can accurately render an opinion or land an opinion about the alleged charges that the feds, albeit I understand they do an extensive amount of research before they render any sort of warrant or arrest anybody. Guilty is not what you are. You are innocent until proven guilty. And so we will let the judiciary system or the judicial, let's get that cleared up and speak properly. We're going to try to get that working in the correct favor so that it's not so much wild work. But you do have to wonder, will this have any lasting, what I would classify a reputational type of damage, anything that like that to you as a sports fan for Chauncey Billups? Like Mr. Big Shot will be known by me for taking down the Lakers, being on the Pistons team in 04 that was unrelenting with Larry Brown as the coach. And while I'm disappointed in maybe what it is that you are doing in terms of hustling people, if you just having poker parties and, you know, doing what you do, cool. But the swindle, everybody don't have the ability to, so I won't speak on it in terms of being able to turn it down or being able to be involved in that situation. But you do wonder what will be the career consequences. Will he lose his job as the coach?